Hi guys, welcome back to GFFA Games and the Old Republic. We are on the toxic world of Quesh, or Quesh. I'm still waiting to hear the word be pronounced in the game. I'm sure it has been already, but I forgot the pronunciation. We are doing the planetary quests, and we've come to an adrenal factory that is being assaulted by Hut cartel droids who are working with the Empire. We've got to repel the attack. Let's look at our map and see how we get into this place. It looks like it's over this way, doesn't it? Arrows pointing down. So how do you... There's a little run over here. Maybe it's through here? Ah, it looks like it, doesn't it? Yep, we're in the processing factory, so let's kill some people. So I'm not quite sure what we're expecting in this factory. I'll have a look in a minute and see how big the map is in here. These droids are taking a bit of killing. That's a little bit tougher than I was expecting. These must be the dead workers littered about the place. So I'm not quite sure why the Empire is interested in Quesh. We've been sent here to investigate the disappearance of Tol Braga's Padawan, who is a former Sith, but we've not started that quest line yet. So I thought I'd try and get these planetary quests done first so we can kind of follow the story a little better. A little bit of an experiment. I'm not sure how well it's going to work. So it's actually only a couple of days since I last recorded anything for this series. I haven't uploaded in a couple of weeks simply because, well, I just haven't had time to edit and get things uploaded in time, which is entirely my fault. I should be recording more than one episode a week to avoid that situation, but you know how it is, sometimes you just don't have time. I'm recording this episode. It's a little less than a month before Christmas now, so well, I'm trying to think of what I want to do as like a Christmas special. Last year I did some trivia questions from Behind the Magic, and I don't really want to do that this year because it wasn't very interesting, and I found out that I actually didn't know a great deal. A lot of them were expanded universe questions and things like that, and I didn't have the knowledge, which doesn't make for a very good video, does it? So I think maybe I'll return to that some other time. Okay, it looks like I've got a bonus quest to recover the adrenal shipment. 2 out of 8. So those little boxes we're getting. Destroy command droids 1 out of 5 and evacuate the workers. Let's have a look at a map then. Okay, so there's not actually much to do. Factory operations is up there, so maybe there's another quest where we'll come back in here and do something else. But we'll check out some of these guys if we can. Been having an interesting conversation lately about midichlorians, which you might be familiar with from episode 1. It seems to be stemming from this idea from what I understand is in Ahsoka. I still haven't seen Ahsoka, by the way, where they're saying that anybody can become a Jedi. And people are quoting things that George Lucas has said in the past, where he said everybody has midichlorians in their cells because that's how the Force binds all life together, as we found out in the original movie. And people are extrapolating from that anybody can become a Jedi. And George Lucas is on record from the production of Return of the Jedi, I think it was, where he's saying that anybody can learn the Force, because the only difference is between people and Jedi is that the Jedi take the time to learn it, whereas regular people don't. And he compares it to things like boxing and yoga. But nowhere have I seen is he saying that anybody can become a Jedi. And really, that sort of idea contradicts, in my opinion, what we see in the movies. And it's a little bit of a confused scenario here. So, if you remember back to the first Star Wars movie, you absolutely could be forgiven for thinking that anybody can learn the Force. There's just a mystical force field, however it's described, and anybody can learn it, because there's absolutely nothing in the movie that says that people can't learn it. Luke Skywalker, there's not necessarily anything special about him that we're told of. He's chosen by Obi-Wan seemingly out of circumstance. There's nothing. We know his father was a Jedi, but that's it. And then I don't think there's anything in the Empire Strikes Back that, other than the fact we find out that his father... What's going on here? Why haven't you fallen over? Well, he's dead. Let's not worry about it. We do find out that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father, but in Return of the Jedi, it's made fairly explicit that the Force runs in the Skywalker family. Right? Luke Skywalker says, I have it, my father has it, my sister has it. That the Force is strong in my family. But you do have to kind of accept that he never says that, well, my family has the Force, as though implying that other families don't. He says that the Force is strong. So it's possible that from this, you can kind of assume that, well, everybody has the Force, but it's just particularly strong with the Skywalkers. And that's potentially expanded upon again in The Phantom Menace with the midichlorian count, the infamous midichlorian count, where we find out that, in fact, Anakin has a unusual midichlorian count. And this article that was written by J.W. Rinsler, of course, the very important Star Wars historian, who's now passed away, he's kind of compiled some things that Lucas has said in the past. It's on StarWars.com, I believe, written back in like 2012, if I remember rightly, 2013, something like that. And he's trying to explain midichlorians. So, it's this unusual midichlorian count that seems to be the thing that gets passed on hereditarily, is that a word? From parent to child. And what it seems to suggest is that if you've got this a high midichlorian count, then you have an ability to manipulate the Force, perhaps. Whereas someone that has a low midichlorian count, and of course remember everybody has a midichlorian count, then you don't necessarily have the ability to manipulate the Force. Oh, there's something green over there that I forgot to collect. You might have the ability to to be honest, I'm not quite sure what it means. If you have a low midichlorian count, but you can still connect with the Force in some way. Security control panels, that's what we're going for. And that's back out. So let's head down here then, I think. So, yeah, I'm a little bit unsure about quite what Lucas's ideas were for this. Clearly, he thought that there was some importance to a high midichlorian count, but I don't think, and certainly he's never quoted as saying anybody can become a Jedi, and that's totally contradicted by what he's put in the things we know that Lucas has had influence over. So I think it's in the Clone Wars, which again we know Lucas had a hand in, where he's made pretty explicit that Jedi only take on young learners that have some affinity for the Force, right? Nobody... I don't think it's ever said that anybody can just train to be a Jedi. It wouldn't make sense, would it? Like... So clearly it counts for something. For example, I don't think Han Solo could decide one day, you know what, I'm going to spend years and years and years to master the Force and become some kind of adept Force user. Am I wrong with that? It seems to... It just doesn't seem to jive well with the movies to suggest that anybody, absolutely anybody, if they put in the time, could be using the Force to jump around and have lightsaber battles, even build a lightsaber, you know, things like that. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps that was what George Lucas had in mind. In any case, I do think that it was something that he would have explored in his sequel trilogy, because we know that he was going to focus on midichlorians specifically, to some degree. Oh, where did you come from? So perhaps we would have seen that in his later movies? I don't know. I do feel like it's fallen to the wrong people to try and explain all this stuff. I don't think anybody over at Disney should really be the ones to try and, you know, redefine what the Force is. I think it's also important to note that George Lucas changed his mind a lot about things. I mean, a lot, even during the production of the movies. Oh, it must have collected all of those. We have. Okay, so we've just got to evacuate the factory workers, so that must be on that control panel upstairs. Yeah, so I think it's kind of not necessarily a moot point, but to try and use something that George Lucas might have said in 1981 or whenever it was, to explain something that Lucas did in 1999. And it certainly doesn't make sense to use something that Lucas said in the 1980s to try and justify something that somebody else is doing in nowadays, 2020, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Because anything that Lucas didn't put down on film, to me, is a work in progress. That's the control panel we're going for up there. It's an evolving concept, something that he hasn't fully resolved in his mind yet. At least that's my take on it, and you might completely disagree with me and say, no, that's silly, that doesn't make sense. I really enjoy thinking about it in terms of an evolving concept. So to look at something he said in the 70s and compare that to what he said later and what he put on film. Off they go. So what's in here then? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay. Yeah, I hope that makes sense in some way to you. I think I've kind of come to my own conclusions on this. My belief is that everybody has midichlorians residing in their cells. In our universe, we don't necessarily experience them at all. We don't have the technology or whatever it is that to find them, or potentially they just don't exist in our universe. Where's this bloody lift? However, in the Star Wars universe, they are commonplace. Everybody has them. They reside in all living cells. But it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody can learn to manipulate the Force like a Jedi does. So you need a particular... I don't want to get too scientific with it and say, you need a certain amount of midichlorians in order to manipulate the Force. It might be different for everybody. However, I do think that the Jedi would have looked for a minimum amount of midichlorians before saying somebody could be a Jedi, that they'd even consider training them. That's sort of the implication that I get from the movies. Whereabouts is Trieg? Down that way. That's where we came from, isn't it? It's quite a difficult concept to get your head around, and I'll be honest with you, I think it is something where we're overcomplicating something that shouldn't be overcomplicated. I'm not quite sure why George Lucas introduced the midichlorians to begin with. It was clearly something that he had in his mind, and I might be wrong in saying this, but I think they existed in an early treatment, but I don't know if they existed as what they became. There might be something different, but I'm sure they mention midichlorians in something. It might be in the annotated screenplays. Am I going the right way? Yeah, it's just this way and then up, isn't it? It's really interesting. And again, I love this idea of exploring how Lucas's concepts changed over time and how they evolved. And even how other people have taken those ideas and adapted them or evolved them for their own stories. But I don't personally care about what Disney have done. Maybe that's just me, but I just don't think anybody at Disney is in the right are the right people to be telling us how the Force works. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see what Major Trieg has to say.
Nice work in the factory. My men are routing the rest of the droid army as we speak.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what I do here. If you found the missing equipment I mentioned, I've got the credits for you. No.
General Corvan and Major Treek would probably be very interested in these. Don't you agree, Broga?
What's this?
Saya tupi no avati kuna. Chido nigde dogi.
Of course you did. Good of you to join us. General?
We are ready to strike at the heart of the Imperial Army and regain control of this war. Our target is Imperial Moff Drayson, commander of Imperial operations on Quesh.
I trust you have a strategy.
Moff Drayson is holed up in a heavily fortified palace. Your strike team must get inside, get to Drayson, and bring him back, preferably alive.
I'll do everything in my power to bring him back here.
Koptulia do boto tuana wanki slemo. Poya tukadanga.
Our scouts only found one route in.
Pomija kulka. Dumaji. Taus azalas uval. Putula musta. Wograni tampio. Dupushi wompa.
Any other relevant information about this place?
Ju bola wa wuni kumba. Omti tokmaki jisa.
I doubt my commandos can make it through the front doors alive, but they will go down trying.
I have a better chance of making it through the doors than your men.
That's very noble of you. Thank you. If all goes well, rendezvous with the second strike team once you're in. I'll be here with enough men to defend Broga, in case the Empire decides to retaliate.
I will meet you here when the mission is complete. Good luck. The entire Republic is hoping for your success.
I think that was interesting. There's a couple of, well, the last one wasn't very tricky, but the couple of different light side and dark side options there, and the first one I couldn't quite remember. I couldn't quite figure out which one was the light and dark, but obviously, when you actually thought about it, Broga the Hutt was he wanted us to collect those adrenals, didn't he, for himself? So I'm glad I remembered that. Let's have a look then. So we want to storm the gates, and we volunteered ourselves to do the difficult bit. So we need to enter the front gate of Broga's palace on Quesh. So we're going to capture this damn moth. Whereabouts is that then? It's all the way over there. Right. How? Oh, okay. We've got quite a bit of. Oh, it's just the area map. Okay. Quesh 3. Is this not a very big planet then, Quesh? Is this all there is to it? Or can I... You know what? I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm looking at the entire map of Quesh or it's just this one area that I'm in. It's got to be the entire map, right? That.
Public stiff just told me. Gotta get records.
For what? Those supplies from Nar Shaddaa, they were smuggled in.
What am I supposed to do? Look in the black markets files? Space that.
But cartel didn't have these regulations. Come on time, no questions asked.
We're Republic loyalists now. The creds better be worth the aggravation.
So these guys have a little conversation every time we come past, doesn't it? Anyway, where are we going? Oh, am I missing a quest? Sorry, guys. Whereabouts is that then? Back here. Here he is. Gunawaro. Hey, buddy.
Jaskruni do pat kurira, do kanki kung. O grani tampio da pushi wompa, pu tula musta.
Jedi need to stick together.
Bagthra wanawaga mi bunawa dweduipe. Barganonua utatiacha nichu kuya maya stupa. Chobet I kafstuan dile jihulo kuta.
It's a shame. Seems like such a waste.
Jonki faguta jiho poda jioto vokise. Pampawula jiota kakoga huta nubisto. O grani tampio da pushi wompa. Putula musta.
How exactly can I help with this?
Kabanotase makipuna. Malituta odmishka. Uchusa yomata chitoya. Nam kanoya choski nawi.
Right. Okay, so whereabouts is that mission taking place? Same area we're heading to. Well, on the way. So that's not too bad. We can do that. Yeah, I was thinking about the series that I really want to make, that I've been kind of preparing for quite a while, is to actually explore how the story of Star Wars developed over time, and not just from what George Lucas did, and the films and things like that, but also looking at the expanded universe, the early expanded universe, and how other people interpreted the films. That was one of the explosives, is it?
Wow.
Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting series, but it's just getting, again, the time to do it. And looking at things like the concept of the Force would be a huge part of that, obviously. There's quite a few of them around here. Yeah, so kind of the other side of this conversation around the Force seems to be people suggesting that basically anybody can become a Jedi if they're trained. And I think, and I might be wrong about this because, like I say, I haven't yet seen it, but that seems to be the implication with Sabine in Ahsoka, Ahsoka's trained to be a Jedi, despite, I won't say having no Jedi traits whatsoever, Force traits in Rebels, because, in fact, you know what, thinking about it, I know exactly why they've done it, because in Rebels she uses the Darksaber, doesn't she, and she doesn't have any trouble with it. Whereas we find out in The Mandalorian that Din Djarin can't use the Darksaber very well because he's not balanced, or however they termed it. So I wonder if that's the reason why they've made Sabine more obviously a better conduit for the Force. Okay, so we've got to return to Gunawaro, but we can do that after we've... Oops. I don't know why pressing the map button now seems to freeze the game. For a certain amount of time, I'm not sure what's happening there. Venom cleanup. Oh, it's still saying... Oh, that's back there, isn't it? I'm here. Actually, I'm not sure if we're going to head back there, so let's just go and do this right now. I do think maybe Disney are writing themselves into a bit of a corner with some of this stuff. unless they know something that we don't about what George Lucas was planning to do in his sequels, and it's possible that he was going to make it so absolutely everybody would awaken to this idea of being able to manipulate the Force, but I can't see it. I mean, that again, it kind of goes against what he's said in the past and what's in the movies, so I can't imagine that's what he was going to do.
The tanks are destroyed.
Victori na tuta, ta aita wanawanga na chuba. Di wanawanga blasto chi.
We'll take this nice little green arrowed one. Green Arrow. They're doing an omnibus collection of the 1970s Green Arrow and Green Lantern storyline. Is it Hard Traveled Heroes or Hard Traveling Heroes? Something like that. I was tempted to buy it, but I'll be honest with you. I don't know if it's quite in my wheelhouse. 1970s Green Lantern and Green Arrow. I'm interested in reading the stories because I know it's is it Dennis O'Neill, something like that, that wrote them, and they're really, really popular and influential on later stories. But I just don't know if it's something that I'm bothered about reading myself. I've got it on my list of stuff to read anyway, so if I get to a point where I don't have anything to read, I will... Oh, a Sith Marauder. Let's take him out. Yeah, if I get to the point where I don't have anything else to read, maybe I'll have a go. I can't imagine I'm going to get to that point anytime soon, though. So, just to get back to midichlorians, the last thing I'm going to say about it, I think my interpretation is in line with everything that Lucas has said, even despite the fact that he changes his mind at the drop of a hat. So I don't actually need to do anything here other than defeat the cartel and Imperial forces 2 out of 20. Okay, maybe I do need to kill as many people as I can then. Yeah, I'm happy that my interpretation's correct. And my interpretation is that everybody has midichlorians, everybody can study the Force and learn to manipulate it to some degree, and we might see that as, for example, somebody with a fantastic intuition or ability to, you know, have great empathy with people and sense when something's not right. You know, and we see that in our worlds. You know, I think that's a manifestation of the Force. And I'm certain, although I don't know anything, and I do need to stress that I don't know anything about Eastern philosophy, which was a major influence on George Lucas's concept of the Force. Is it Taoism? I really genuinely don't know anything about that, and Qi and all that, but I am led to believe that it doesn't restrict who can learn about Qi and become, you know, manipulate it and whatever, however it works. So it is possible. However, some people have a greater affinity for doing so, right? And that's the same with anything. Even George Lucas's allegory of people learning yoga and boxing, and I think even J.W. Rinsler kind of agrees on this point, where he says that some people are born stronger, and I think he uses the phrase more lithe in terms of boxing and yoga. So some people just have a greater affinity for those things. Anyone can learn to do it, but some people aren't going to be very good, you know? No matter how much they study and train, they're just never going to be a world-class boxer. So It's the same in this world. We might say, rather than saying stronger, we'd say... I say this world, sorry, I mean the Star Wars universe. The midichlorians. Right? Does that make sense? It kind of makes sense to me. You know, if you've got a high midichlorian count, then you're gonna be able to manipulate the Force in ways that someone with a low midichlorian count isn't going to be able to. Just no matter how much they study the Force and train under a Jedi, or they're just never going to be able to lift a rock using the Force, for example, because they just don't have that connection. They don't have the natural ability. Whereas someone like Anakin, who has a ridiculous midichlorian count, theoretically has a fantastic connection with the Force and can do things that somebody like Obi-Wan, a regular Jedi, can't. And I think one example of that is probably surviving having all your limbs cut off and being essentially fried like a chicken, you know? That should have killed him, but it didn't, because he's Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, who was, as far as we know, conceived by the midichlorians. So, for example, let's say I'm, or any one of us really, is an example of a regular person that exists in the Star Wars universe. I would probably find that I've got a very low midichlorian count. Right? Does that make sense? I've got no latent Force intuitiveness, you know? None at all. So that probably means that oh, it's these guys. I wondered what was attacking us. Oh, these are the cartel guards, okay. Oh, the Gamorreans. Oh, we've had terrible luck with fighting Gamorreans in the past. They're very tough. So what I mean to say is, I, personally, would not be chosen by the Jedi to be trained. I just wouldn't be even considered, because I've got, well, absolutely no ability to use the Force. No matter how much I studied it, I just would not be able to manipulate the Force in the way required to become a Jedi, right? This makes perfect sense to me. I might not be articulating it very well just on the fly. Whereas somebody with that's found to have a relatively high midichlorian count could potentially learn to use the Force if they put in the time and study. And I think that's what we see in the prequels and in the Clone Wars. So yeah, getting back to what I would like to do for Christmas as a Christmas special. I'm going to have to start working on it pretty soon because, like I say, it's less than a month until it's Christmas. And a New Year special as well. Probably do like a two-parter. Maybe I'll try and get the first part of this series out, I don't know. Probably not, because I'm not going to have time to do any more episodes until March time, I think. I might just do a video where I look at some obsolete software I've got, if I can get it working. That might be interesting. I also wanted to look at the Minecraft Star Wars stuff that they've done. I don't know if I'll bother doing that soon, because I don't actually own a copy of Minecraft to buy it. Unless I do. Maybe I do own Minecraft. I have played it in the past. A long, 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 long time ago, back when it was first became kind of popular in people's consciousness. I used to watch videos about it, you know. I wasn't ever a major player on it myself, but I used to love watching YouTube videos about it. It was a really creative game, you know. I was actually surprised to find that it's still going, Minecraft. I thought it had long since been discontinued. Same with Fortnite, apparently that's still popular, and that's something that I've never had any interest in, Fortnite. I do know that it's had some Star Wars updates itself, but so the front gate's actually this way. I'm assuming this is it, actually. Yeah, of course, if you're watching this and you've got some ideas for what you'd like to see in a series about Star Wars, something a bit more interesting than just, Sith Commander? And just, you know, gameplay footage and things, which is fine, you know, it's interesting. But it's not necessarily a great use of this platform, is it? I think we're very lucky to have something like YouTube, where we can really make videos about anything we want to. At least I feel that way. Right, so what's down that way then? Lower level. We've got no reason to go down there yet. We need to go this way. Okay. See, my other idea that I was working on for a while, but had to kind of put to one side, was an exploration of the Dark Forces saga, like Kal Katarn's story and that whole thing. And the reason I put that aside is because it requires me to replay all of those games, and I just haven't had time to do it. But that is something that I would like to do, I think. But probably not before I get my other series under production. Oh. I'm going to take this person out. There we go. I think one of the reasons I wanted to do the Dark Forces series, not only because I really love the Jedi Knight storyline, it's also because I'm fascinated in how it demonstrates the fabric of the expanded universe and how it all connected together. I mean, from Dark Forces to Jedi Knight, you started to get things like Jedi versus Sith, which started to explore things like Darth Bane. You know, it all came from that storyline, or at least was connected to it in some way. I just found it really interesting. And then things like Mysteries of the Sith, which relied so much on the Thrawn trilogy. It's just really interesting how it all connects together, or at least I think it's interesting. But that would be more of a non-linear exploration of the Star Wars universe, whereas my other idea to start from the very beginning, like the draft scripts, and then Star Wars, and then the adaptations of Star Wars that came out, that would be a more linear exploration of how Star Wars connected. Ooh. This guy's not happy. But yeah, they're just different ideas, but there's no reason why I can't do both of those things. It's just, again, it's getting the time to sit and do them. And right now, time is, well, I'm having trouble getting time just to play like an hour of this a week, so you know what that means. It's very difficult. Right, so that's the way down to the lower level, and we've got no reason to go down there yet. We've got no mission active. It's possible that we will do eventually. This is like a nice little office, isn't it? Anyway, nothing down here. Okay, so we've got no bonus quest active at the minute. We just need to head out this way by the looks of it. You can see the Red Squad captain right there. See, someone I know has kind of suggested that this idea that anybody can become a Jedi, anyone can learn to use the Force like a Jedi does, is part of this. Oh, I've got to speak to this guy, hang on.
Glad to see you made it through in one piece, Master Jedi. There's bound to be trouble up ahead.
I'll take point. Let's go find Moff Drayson.
You heard the order, men. Move out.
Okay, done it. Oh no, we haven't. We've got to find Moff Drayson. Let's go.
Welcome. I would offer you some of these excellent adrenals, but my warriors have used the last of them.
Surrender, Moff Drayson. I will see to it that you aren't harmed.
I hope you realize what an honor you have been given today. You will play a pivotal role in galactic history. Your deaths will be the final outrage that forces the Republic's hand. And now I think it is time to conclude this.
Okay. Yeah, a friend of mine seems to perceive this as being like a, again, that word, a woke agenda kind of thing with, so anybody can be a Jedi, you know? And they're using it as a way to explain away Rey and, obviously, in his perception, this idea of women characters, call them girl bosses and all this, which I do kind of see the point, but I wouldn't use that terminology myself. Anyway, let's see what Moff Drayson's got to say.
Do you think you've won? The Republic's hold on Quesh is at an end. I had no idea Jedi were so gullible. All of this has only been a diversion. You never had the strength or the courage to strike the Empire down. And you never will.
Captain, restrain this man and escort him to the Republic base.
Gladly. You should go on ahead. General Corvan will meet you at the war camp to hear your report in person.
Oh, there we go. Just got to return to the old war camp then, have we? Can we fast travel back there? We can. Oh, so I could have done that exploratory mission, couldn't I? I didn't need to head back. Never mind. Yeah, I don't personally. I really don't know how I feel about a lot of this modern day media. Some of it really is just absolute garbage to me, and I think there is something to be said about this idea that they're implanting an agenda into everything that's just so unsubtle that it's distracting. Oh. Uh-oh. You know, and I'm not saying that I don't agree with things like feminism and things. I do think that women deserve to be treated equally as men. Of course I do. And you know, they should have female characters. You know, to use the same phrase that they keep doing, strong female characters, you know, and all this. Yes, of course they do. And I think that over the years we have had strong female characters, and they've had a huge impact on our culture. You know, Princess Leia was one of them. And despite what they try to play it nowadays, you know, with the was it Galaxy of Adventures, where it kind of portrayed Princess Leia as being the person that did the rescuing from the Death Star, and Luke and Han were completely useless and all this. Well, you know, that was nonsense. The idea was they were all equal. They all worked together based on their strengths, right? I mean, that's not controversial. Oh, I didn't know I could manipulate T7's abilities. Never mind. Anyway, let's see what Rochelle Beck's got to say.
Chonki fakota, chihopoda, chiotovo kise.
My word. I expected trouble when I lost contact with Broga and Major Trig, but I never imagined this.
Bono nachatu, nitutu boga.
Greetings, General. Lord Magris, I suppose it was only a matter of time before the Sith became involved in this war.
And you must be the little Jedi who's been helping them. Aren't you just precious? Is this really the best you could find, Corvan? You'll have my deepest condolences.
Tell us what you've done with Broga and Trig.
It is with great sorrow that I must inform you of the defection of your valued servant and war hero, Major Trig. You are standing in the midst of his handiwork. He killed his own soldiers to deliver Broga to me.
Chawa aite ya chachopa.
The hut is with me in your former venom mine. Another gift from Major Trig.
I'm sure you aren't giving us this information for our benefit.
I am issuing an invitation. Would you like these things back? Come to the mine and take them. My door is always open.
This is my fault. I should have seen it coming.
You think that Sith was telling the truth? Trig could be a prisoner too.
That would make the situation no less dire. As it stands, Quesh is lost. There's little time to regain control before Republic Command orders us off the planet. We must stop Lord Magris. And if the Major's turned against us, bring him to justice.
I can assure you, I will not fail.
All our hopes rest on you now. Find Lord Magris and Major Trig. Put a stop to this. Save Broga if you can. I'll return to base to await your report. Good luck.
Okay, right. I think that seems to be quite an important mission, doesn't it? I don't think that Major Trig has defected. I think he's been betrayed by Broga. I think that's going to be the twist at the end of this. And we know that it's pronounced Quesh. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it a day there, and because I've just jabbered on for nearly an hour now about midichlorians and things. Next episode, I think I'm going to probably moan a bit more about things. I'm not sure what. Hopefully I'll have decided what I'm going to do as a Christmas special by then. But you know, I won't spoil it. Oh, T7's looking like, who the hell are you talking to? Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.